Okay, so you can see here on this hat that I made, this is called ribbing because you can see the ribs here, right? And this isn't as stretchy. This is much stretchier. So this is a extra long ribbing that you can then fold up. So in order to make this ribbing, so that you can make it stretchy like this, you're going to use 2 different kind of stitches. And so far I've only shown you the knit stitch, but I'm about to show you the purl stitch. Don't panic. Okay, so this is called 2x2 ribbing. See how you have 2 rows of the V's, and then this is 2 rows also. Now, if you look and see when I flip this over, this part here, that is the horizontal lines. On the opposite side, that is V's. And so this is what purl stitches are actually just the opposite of knit stitches. So here on this side where you see the V's from the knit stitches, if you flip it around to the back side, that's the purl stitches. So Claire, when you started knitting the opposite way, instead of knitting from the outside, you started knitting from the inside. That's what you did. You just switched the knit stitches there. And I know you didn't realize you were doing the purl stitches, but you actually kind of were. Okay. So we've joined our round. I would normally put a stitch marker there. We are going to do 2x2 ribbing like this, okay? And what that means is that we are going to do 2 knit stitches, 1, 2, and now here's the trick where we're going to screw everything up. Knit stitches we do with the yarn in the back. Purl stitches we do with the yarn in the front. Okay, so now we have the yarn in the front. And instead of having the needles go this way as you would for a knit stitch, you're now going to go in front. Okay, remember this was knit, but now we are going to do in front, right? We're coming from the back to the front. This is called a purl, and we're still going to wrap that yarn around and pull it through, but we just did the opposite of what we did with the knit stitches. Okay, so we're going to do it again because it's 2x2. Back to front, wind it around, pull it back through. Okay, so I did my 2 purl stitches. This is where we're going to get all kinds of crazy. We want 2 knit stitches. So see how when you do a purl stitch, the yarn naturally falls into the front, but we want to now do a knit stitch. So we have to switch it to the back because now we're going to do 2 knit stitches, okay? Right, 2 knit stitches, that's regular knitting. Now we're ready for the purl stitches. This is the trick. We have to move the yarn to the front before we do this, because if we don't, if we start the stitch first and then go, oh yeah, I've got to go around it, then what you have done is there. You can see that's just a mess. You're like, what the heck? So when you make this mess, that's what happened. And again, it's okay. We can just put our needle on there, back it up. Okay, so before we put the needles in this way, we want to move the yarn in front. And then we're going to go like that, around 1, 2, so that's 2 purl stitches. So now we want to do knit stitches. So we're going to move that yarn to the back And now we're going to do 2 knit stitches. 1, 2, and then back, moving that yarn back in front, and we're going to do 2 purl stitches. Okay, so we're going to do that 2 by 2. You're going to do 2 knit, 2 purl all the way around. The trick then is that whatever number of stitches you put on your needle has to be divisible by 4. So you're going to want either 40 or 44 stitches on your needle because you're doing 4 at a time. Because then when I get over here, right, I'm going to do 2, 2, 2, 2, and I want to end on 2 purl before I start my 2 knit, because you want it to just go around in a circle, right? 2 purl, 2 knit, 2 purl, 2 knit. So you need to make sure if you're doing 2 by 2, which is the most common type of ribbing, that however many stitches you put on your needles is divisible by 4. All right. So if you were doing that ribbing, let's say you did it like this, you would want to just do that 2 by 2 for maybe 2 inches. Maybe 1 inch, you know, whatever, just enough to kind of make it stretchy over the biggest part of your head. And then you would just switch when you got to the end of that round. You would be able to just switch to all knit stitches. But right now you would still keep doing that 2 by 2. The 2 knit stitches, move the yarn in front, and that's going to be the trick, is remembering to move the yarn before you switch to the other stitch, because otherwise, so remember before I showed you what will happen if you start to do the knit stitch before you move the yarn in back, right? So if I do that, here's this extra, I just made an extra stitch right here, and on top of that I made a hole. So see how that's an extra stitch on there now? So that is why you want to make sure that you move the yarn. And listen, you're going to mess it up a bunch of times and it's fine. You don't have to panic. You just want to make sure that each time you'll get it in the rhythm and you'll start remembering to move the yarn frontwards and backwards. To the front, to the back, to the front, to the back, purl. So this is just knit. It's called knit 2, purl 2. So we're going to knit 2, and then we're going to purl 2, right? And so we'll do that all the way around, and that is going to make our ribbing, okay? Okay.